what seems to be a complete absence of strategy on this debt ceiling thing. I mean, look, there are Democrats can't control these things necessarily. No, I should say they can't control what the Republicans do. Completely predictable what Mitch McConnell was going to do in terms of the debt ceiling for two reasons. One, because we have years and years of evidence of how Mitch McConnell does things. And the other piece of evidence was that as early as like 6 months ago, Mitch McConnell was making it absolutely clear, we're not going to vote to raise the debt ceiling. Period. End of story. The Democrats are going to have to do it on their own. Now, you would think at that moment, people who are in the leadership of the Democratic Party, specifically in the Senate, where this is a problem. Mitch McConnell says he's not going to vote for it. That's a problem in the Senate because there's a filibuster. You would think that the leader of the Democrats in the Senate would just take, 10, 15, 20 minutes, sit down with a piece of paper and a pen, maybe have one or two of his aides around and say, like, what's the plan for this? Should we come up with a plan? Let's write down the plan. Then let's try and execute the plan. There seems to be a complete absence of a plan here.
And it's coming soon, the deadline. The United States is going to default on its debt if nothing is done. The debt will break the statutory ceiling on the 18th. And that's like not, if they don't get reconciliation, the process of reconciliation started yesterday or today at the very least, that's not going to happen through reconciliation.
And the thing is, it could, but they're choosing not to do this for whatever reason. Somehow they think this is, I don't even know the constituency that they think is that it's going to have any political resonance with anybody.
Hypocrisy shaming Mitch McConnell on the debt ceiling, right? Like, oh, you raised it this trillion under Trump and we helped you and now you won't raise it now, and the collective populace in the United States is going to sleep.
I don't even think the people who are really the most sensitive to this issue even
yeah,
they're like, well, just go and mint the coin or do reconciliation. Yeah. But Joe Biden and the Democrats are it seems that it's not enough for them to quixotically try and score points off of Mitch McConnell being Mitch McConnell. Now it seems that they want to basically also shoot themselves in the foot with their own party. Here is Joe Biden yesterday answering questions from the South Lawn of the White House. And it's not just Joe Biden. I mean, there's apparently talk about this and I don't understand. I don't understand what it is they're trying to communicate here. Here is Joe Biden.
Oh, I'm not sure yet. It's not finished yet.
Are Democrats considering using the nuclear option to raise the debt limit? Using a carve-out with the filibuster to raise the debt limit?
Oh, I think that's a real possibility.
That's the part that I want to. Are Democrats contemplating a carve-out of the filibuster to raise the debt ceiling? And Joe Biden's response isn't, we could never do that. The filibuster is sacrosanct.
I got to check with the legal experts about it.
I'm not sure can we do that? I don't think so. Because, hey, come on, man. It's the Senate. We don't do that. It's sacrosanct.
Never mind.
You can't ruin the norms. I mean, think about what's communicated here. What's communicated here is, despite the fact that we have other vehicles to raise the debt ceiling, including a new reconciliation bill, the existing reconciliation bill, the minting of a multi-trillion-dollar coin or $1 trillion platinum coin, which is, sort of, it's sort of half a joke, but you can do it. But what it does is it illustrates that this is all made up anyways.
Well, the whole thing's a joke.
Exactly.
Like, even the stuff that's treated with artificial seriousness is a joke.
The existence of the debt ceiling in and of itself is also...
Reconciliation is a joke. The filibuster's a joke.
Well, I'm talking about the fiat currency. I mean, reconciliation is a mechanism that they've developed, whatever. They want to buy into that. The filibuster is a mechanism that they have. But the idea that we don't have the capacity to deal with this in other ways is a complete fiction. And I understand why they don't want to do this. They don't want to show that there aren't the constraints that are used as a justification for not spending on other things. I mean, what would Joe Manchin say right now if everyone knew what the reality was, which is that we are not constrained by the deficit. We are not constrained by the debt. The debt is just on a balance sheet. There is nobody out there who's going to come and repossess our country. That's not the way it works. We have a fiat currency. But the point is that if they are willing to get rid of the filibuster to protect that fiction, but they're not willing to do it to allow people to have the right to vote, to reestablish the Voting Rights Act, which has been hacked at by the Supreme Court, that they're not, they can't touch the filibuster to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. They can't touch the filibuster to deal with immigration. They can't touch the filibuster to deal with expansion of Medicaid, the expansion of Medicare.
PRO Act.
The PRO Act.
Police reform.
Police reform. I mean, we can go on and on and on that they are saying that protecting this fiction about our debt, and there's a reason why this vote has been pro forma in the past, is because it's not real. It is a artificial construct to create a false idea of scarcity so that we cannot provide for our people in this country.
And McConnell is banking on their adherence to that fiction, right? Because he wants to tank the Biden presidency and Biden agenda. And what would happen if the United States were to default on its debt, right? The value of U.S. Treasury bonds would completely just sink, which would tank the global economy, including the U.S. economy. There's estimates that unemployment would immediately rise by double what it is at right now. There's a variety of factors that would play entirely into the Republicans' hands electorally. So, this is actually an existential question for the Democrats, though. These kinds of Democrats who are obsessed with process and everything that you're saying and maintaining a fiction, are you more committed to maintaining that fiction than you are to saving your own ass?
Yeah, but the thing is, there is not going to be any default. That's the thing, is that there's too many other mechanisms that they can use. I mean, if they haven't figured this out by October 18th, the Treasury's going to come out and go we actually found another thing that we can do, another extraordinary measure, and we can do this to October 25th.
I know, but my point is that this is the kind of prospect and something that Democrats would actually be genuinely worried about, that McConnell is using as leverage.
I'm not sure exactly what McConnell's agenda is, other than just create havoc and watch these inept politicians try and do something with it. I think he just realizes he is playing against the Washington Generals. And so it really doesn't matter what he does, because they're going to bump into each other. They're going to, end up spraining all their ankles on the court. He doesn't have to do anything. He just has to cause a problem and watch how ineptly they deal with this. Because Joe Biden saying that they can get rid of the filibuster, all of a sudden, that it's a real prospect. Does he not realize that he's been treating this like it was, the
inevitable,
the shroud of Turin or whatever it is, that the filibuster is some untouchable. I mean, to just sort of for them to be banding it around when there's clearly other mechanisms in which to deal with the debt ceiling, unlike voting rights, unlike immigration reform, unlike on and on and on, all of these priorities, the PRO Act, whatever it is. And they don't realize, like, they're politicians. This is political, and it's almost as if they're like, oh, well, they're playing. It's almost they think they have an audience of like 15 people. It's really sort of stunning. I mean, a measure of incompetence. It really is just crazy. And I mean, I hope they get rid of the filibuster for the debt ceiling. And then I hope they get rid of it for other things. But I'm not convinced that Mitch McConnell's out there going like, I'm going to force them to get rid of the filibuster. And I don't have to worry about it because Joe Manchin's already promised us that he's not going to vote for anything that they want. And we're going to take the Senate in 16 months. And we'll have no filibuster. And we're going to be able to blame, Joe Biden for getting rid of it. And the idea that people are going to say, well, we had to because of the debt ceiling, this is going to be a joke.
No one will care.
No one's going to care.
Yeah.
I'd still support Biden getting rid of it to the extent he does, though.
I say get rid of it.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I say get rid of it.
Not a carve out.
And if this provides a slippery slope to getting rid of the filibuster, even if it ends up being used, or the absence of the filibuster being used by Mitch McConnell in a Republican Senate in 2 years, good. The American public needs to, there needs to be less mystification around all of people's positions so that it can be quite clear as to who people are voting for.
Although Republicans, they take the Senate, they get rid of the filibuster, and then before the next midterms, they reinstate it.
I mean,
that's why Democrats.
no,
should
that's
get rid
when
of
Chris
it now.
Coons. That's when Chris Coons announces if we retake the Senate, the first thing we're going to do is reinstate the filibuster and try and get back to norms. Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.